God, that sandworm. Every time I see that sandworm now, all I gotta think is about that popcorn bucket. That popcorn bucket is all I'm ever gonna think about.
So Dune Part 2 is about to come out, so it's time for us
It's already
to
out.
Part 1 and tell you everything you need to know about Dune.
Please
before
tell
you
me.
see Dune 2. Now, it's
Because
been a while since
I'm
Part
really
1 came out.
misinformed.
It's an amazing movie, but it was also very dense with lots of characters, world building, and very little exposition. So you may have a lot of questions like what's the deal with Paul's visions, the prophecy, the spice, the sandworms, and everything else.
Yes, everything about that. I have all that questions. I have all those questions. Because I have so zero knowledge.
To celebrate the return of Dune, we have this awesome Spice Krispies t-shirt for sale at our merch store, ScreenCrushmerch.com, where we design
Oh, those
all the
look
merch
cool.
ourselves. I love this shirt. Like, look at the little details here.
Those look actually good.
Looks like the Fremen, cereals made from
I need to
Krispies
check.
Spice, and
I
of
need to
course,
check their
the
website.
logo.
That
Shopping
looks
on
so
our store
good.
is the best way for you to directly support our channel, so we can keep making videos like this one. The store link is below. So back to Dune. Now, the first movie was an adaptation of the first half.
I need to
of
read the
Frank
books
Herbert's
as well.
masterpiece, and I can't wait to
I need
see
to
what
read the
Denis
books.
Villeneuve is cooking up in Part 2. Dune takes place 20,000 years in the future, where the universe is ruled by the Imperium. The Emperor is Shaddam IV of House Carino. Now, the
Okay.
Empire is divided into many great houses.
Okay.
Like in Game of Thrones. Exactly. It's
Thank
Game
you,
of
yeah.
Thrones in space.
Exactly.
Sandworms instead of dragons. There's the good house, Atreides, and the bad house, the Harkonnens. They have an
Yep,
ancient,
I got
bloody
that
feud.
easily.
Basically, they're the Starks and the Lannisters. About 10,000
I'm
years
enjoying the
before Part
analogies.
1, AI was banned after humanity destroyed all their robots and computers. Why would they do that? Well, mankind wanted to end their dependency on machines so that they could evolve themselves to be better than any computer or technology.
We're gonna eventually have to do that.
Computers made faster than light space travel nearly impossible. And this is why the Empire needed a substance called the spice melange.
Oh, so
Yeah,
what's that?
what's
Space oil
this
that
spice?
puts the sand in their ships or something?
No, it's a narcotic that expands a person's consciousness and awareness. It also prolongs life and turns your eyes blue.
Whatever, man. Just keep bringing me that.
So is Zendaya's character constantly tripping on spice?
Basically, consuming spice makes you force sensitive, like in Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
Aw, Doug, you look so cute in your teddy bear costume. Let me journal that. This is Doug in his teddy bear costume to celebrate the opening of Dune Part 2.
Hey, what are you doing there?
Oh, you know, man, I keep a catalog of everything you do, say, and wear for my journal.
You keep a journal about me?
Yeah, dude, I've been journaling
What the
for
fuck
years
is
and for a lot
this?
of different reasons. For example, about 12 years ago, I was depressed all the time.
I'm sorry about
I
that.
worked my way through it and
Is
worked
this a
through my
sponsored
problems. I'm actually a
section?
big believer in journaling as a way to maintain your mental health or to keep track of your new workout routines.
Is this
or
a
just to
sponsored?
catalog your kids or catalog every movie you've ever seen in the theater, which I've actually been doing with this list.
Jeez, what do you have, like 5 different notebooks for all these journals?
No, sir, because I've been using the premium.
There it
feature of
comes,
Day
here it
One
goes,
Journal.
okay.
By far one of my favorite sponsors we've ever had on this channel. Guys, Day One Journaling is great because in addition to
God, brother, you have
journals,
so
you
much
can also
energy.
upload
Please
news,
chillax.
like photos and videos of the dogs and cats in your life. But what I really love about Day One Journal, especially over paper journals, is the search function. It's an easy way to search your entries and find every mention of someone. Or
I don't
even
have
a
to
movie.
watch this
They also-
part.
it's also- dogs are to
Don't have to watch this part.
Day1app.com/.
There we go.
And use the code
Oh, why am I
ScreenCrush
watching
to
that?
unlock a 2-month free trial of Day One.
No,
Premium.
thank you.
That's DAYONE app.com/ScreenCrush to see why it's the #1 journaling app out there. Clicking this link not only helps to support our channel, but I think you're really going to love the app too. Again, click the link below and use the code ScreenCrush to unlock
Why am I
space
watching
travel.
this?
The ships fold space-time, but the navigators of the Spacing Guild use the spice to find routes throughout the stars.
So everyone in Dune is really high on magic space.
Yeah, that's what I was
More or less.
saying.
So without the spice, the Empire will fall. So,
The spice must flow.
however, the spice
Okay,
is
so-
super rare and it can only be harvested on only one planet in the entire universe, Arrakis, also known as Dune.
So all of the spice comes from one planet to
Now,
feed the
Arrakis
universe.
is the home of the sandworms, giant worms that
That
roam
doesn't
the deserts
sound
and are highly protective of their world.
sustainable.
Arrakis is also the home of the Fremen. They are oppressed refugees.
Fremen
who
are
migrated to
Zendaya's
Arrakis
character,
long ago,
okay.
adapted to the brutal environment of the desert planet, living in a kind of harmony with it. Now, spice is part of their way of life, which is why their eyes turned blue. And they have a
So they're
much better
constantly tripping
understanding
on
of
it.
this world, especially the sandworms. They can even ride them. Now, the Fremen are a very religious people. They believe in a prophecy that foretold the arrival of a messianic savior.
Oh, that's that prophecy stuff about Paul, right?
Yes, throughout Part 1, the name Lisan al-Gaib is chanted by the Fremen.
Voice from the outer world. It's their name for Messiah.
In certain scenes, they refer to Paul as the Mahdi.
They say you're the Mahdi.
So what's the difference?
It's sort of the same thing, but it's more like one leads into the other. According to the legends, Lisan al-Gaib will be an off-worlder savior and the son of a Bene Gesserit. He will join the
So the
Fremen
Mahdi is
and defend
like
their freedom,
the version of
but
Anakin
But
Skywalker.
here's the thing. This prophecy
The
is a lot
analogy I'm
more
trying to use.
fabricated by the Bene Gesserit.
Oh yeah, those are the
What?
space witches, right?
Yes, that's right, space witches. The Bene Gesserit are a sisterhood of highly trained women with special mental and physical abilities.
Very
One of
badass.
these powers is the voice, which allows them to command a person's mind.
Come here, kneel. Like a Jedi mind trick.
These aren't the droids you're looking
A lot of Star Wars
Yeah,
analogies
they're
are
a lot
helping.
like Jedi, but they're also kind of like the Sith because
Okay.
they see politics, religion, and everything else in the Empire. And they have been shaping genetics and crossbreeding bloodlines to achieve their master plan.
Okay,
The arrival of the Chosen One.
So they're the ones that are making everything
They want to
in the
create a
background.
superhuman called the Kwisatz Haderach.
Why would they do that?
The Bene Gesserit can look into the memories of their female ancestors.
Okay. So the witches are the ones manipulating everything in the shadows. So they're kind of like the Palpatine in the background, messing everything up, puppeting everything for their benefits. Okay, because of they're putting everything in place for the prophecy, like Palpatine was putting everything in place for Anakin to fall into the dark side. Okay.
Meaning that they can see the past. However, the future is hidden from them. Now, a transcendent male with Bene Gesserit powers could use the ability of prescience, which will allow him to see into the past and the future, essentially becoming
Okay.
the bridge of space and time.
A mind.
So he is way too overpowered.
To bridge space and time.
With such power, the One will lead humanity into a better future. So this is the
Or a
basis of
horrible
human
future as
their
well.
Savior. The Bene Gesserit planted superstitions all over the Empire so they could control others with fanatic religions.
Oh, so Paul is the one, right?
He sure is. He is the One. And this brings us to the start of part 1. The opening line of the movie is,
Dreams are
this
messages
quote
from
is
the
about
deep.
Paul's visions, his dreams of messages from the future, but more on this later. I'm not sure why it's spoken in the Sardaukar language, but this voice is epic, so who cares? And then we meet Chani, a Fremen who Paul has been dreaming about. Chani explains how the
Zendaya.
Harkonnens
Everyone
oppressed
dreams
and
about
massacred
Zendaya.
her people. For the past 80 years, House Harkonnen has controlled Arrakis, and harvesting spice made them extremely wealthy and powerful. The head of House Harkonnen
How have they been allowed to take control of the spice and freaking? It's all from one planet. Why would? I would imagine there would have been like a freaking war to take control of the planet. I mean, maybe they won that war. Still.
is the Baron Vladimir. Due to his robust body, he needs a special harness that lets him levitate. His savage nephew is Glossu Rabin, who is overseeing spice harvesting on Arrakis. And we also
Okay.
need to know about the Baron's other nephew, Fade Rotha. who's gonna be very
Okay.
important in part 2.
Austin
And
Butler's
Prince's version
main
is played by
character.
none other than Sting. In all his glory.
What
Harkonnen's
the
operation
fudge
on Arrakis
was that?
abruptly ends after the Emperor gives the planet to House Atreides.
Well, why did he fire them?
Well, you see, the Emperor rules over the Imperium, but there's a very delicate power balance between all these great houses. Duke Leto Atreides has been gaining a lot of popularity among the other houses. Now, this is
Okay.
a major threat to the Emperor since he fears that Leto will unite them against him. On top of that, the Atreides have the best military force in the entire Empire.
The
So
badass
Emperor
group.
wants to wipe out the Atreides, but he has to do it in secret. Otherwise, the other houses will revolt against him. He charges Atreides with spice harvesting on Arrakis,
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
which means they will have to relocate to an isolated and dangerous world. On Arrakis, the
So that's the reason they ended up on the. Oh wow, that's a long-term planning. Respect to the Emperor.
Harkonnens could slaughter the entire house, and the Emperor would just blame the centuries-old blood feud of these two houses. So it's a two birds.
Wow, so the Emperor just got rid of two problems at once. Hey, could you go take care of this planet? Not because I trust you, just because I want to kill you. But oh wow.
Stone kind of trap. The Emperor removes a dangerous rival, and at the same time, he weakens the position of the
Yeah,
Harkonnens,
exactly.
since the other houses will be mad at them for killing all the Atreides. However, don't discount the Baron. He's far from being the Emperor's pawn. But before all this goes down, we're finally introduced to Paul Atreides on Caladan. It's the ancestral home of House Atreides. Paul has been having dreams like the one about Chani, and some of his dreams have been coming true. And then we meet the Lady Jessica. She's a Bene Gesserit, Leto's lover, and Paul's mother. Jessica trained Paul in the way.
This is the way, like the Mandalorian way?
No, the Bene Gesserit way. Paul was basically trained to be John Wick, Batman, Anakin Skywalker, and Bran Stark all combined into a single person. Then the Emperor's emissaries arrive on Caladan, and Leto officially accepts the stewardship of Arrakis. Later, Paul meets up with Duncan Idaho, the badass swordmaster of the house and one of the finest warriors in Dune. Now, Leto is sending Duncan to Arrakis ahead of time so he can find the Fremen and create an alliance with them. And then they could have
Desert power.
Now, Paul wants to join him. He has been having dreams of Arrakis,
Okay.
and he even saw Duncan's death.
So
But
that is
Blake
why
Lively
he.
managed to refuse
Okay.
Paul's request because he's the future.
God, this is so. Oh my God. Everything is making so much more sense now that I understand what's going on.
Of the house. Leto explains to Paul that going to Arrakis is a trap, but perhaps with the Fremen, they could survive. When Paul questions if he's worthy to be a duke, Leto says,
A great man doesn't seek to lead. He's called to.
So many freaking good actors are in this movie.
Afterwards, Paul trains with Gurney Halleck. He's the military leader of the house and one of the best fighters in the universe. He's very loyal to both the Duke and his son. Now, Paul dismisses the grave danger they're facing, so Gurney gets all in his face about it.
You never met Harkonnens before. I have. They're not human. They're brutal.
So what's with the shields and swords? I mean, don't they got like lasers and bullets and stuff?
Okay, so in Dune, guns are mostly useless because of shields. It's an energy field that covers a person or a ship. However, the shield isn't completely impenetrable. It needs to allow some slow-moving matter in, like air. And, you know, even in the future, people still need to breathe.
I think he's choking.
This flaw is why everybody uses swords and knives.
That is
Sword
so
fighting needs to
good.
move with precise speed to penetrate the shield.
Dune does have some of the best
Or
sword
less
action
far.
scenes
Anyway,
that I've ever
far
seen, I
future,
think.
but everybody's kind of medieval. Now, there are two other key members of House Atreides. Thufir Hawat is the Mentat. Now, Mentats are virtually mankind's replacement for thinking machines. They can process and calculate information.
So they're like the
The
computers.
other character is Dr. Hewitt. He's the physician of the house. He was trained to diagnose diseases and injuries simply with a touch.
That's
Again,
incredible.
It's all about humans becoming better than computers.
R2-D2, you know better than to trust a strange computer.
Then one night, the Reverend Mother arrives to meet Paul about his dreams.
Okay, who's she?
She is a high-ranking sister of the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, but this
She
chick
tells
is
Paul
not to be
he has
trusted,
hand
though.
Inside a box.
That's my hand in her box?
Exactly, and inside that box is pain. The Reverend Mother suspects that Paul is the one. So the test is to determine whether Paul will break
remember
under the immense
that.
pressure he's facing, or if he can control his emotions and endure the pain. Paul overcomes the pain because
He is the one.
Paul passes the test, but he also starts having visions of the future. The reason why all the Bene Gesserit are females is because only women can survive their tests and training. So Paul surviving the test and his abilities prove that
He's the one.
However, the Reverend Mother is angry that Jessica gave birth to a boy.
Why? What's wrong with the baby boy?
She
Yeah.
was supposed to give birth to a girl.
How can you
Paul
control
launched the
that?
Bene Gesserit breeding program to create the one. Jessica went against the plan and
But she
defeats
bur-
Paul
she
and
birthed
Donald,
the one.
Like Neo. Later in that scene,
Oh.
Paul tells his mother about the Bene Gesserit plans and
Oh, so they weren't ready for him. Oh, okay. So he is like Neo.
discovers that he is the one. After all this, the Atreides finally travel to Arrakis, and House Atreides knows how to make an entrance. Hit the bagpipes.
Like
When
walking out in the
Paul and
Olympics.
Jessica, they chant Lasan al-Gaib, since they believe that he is their prophesied
So
Messiah.
they already
After
knew
arrive
when
in
he
Arrakis,
just arrived, though.
countless
That's the
people
wild
like
thing.
this, Jessica meets a Fremen woman called Mapes, and she gives her a Chris knife.
Hey, so what's so special about that knife?
Well, it's a sacred blade made from the razor-sharp teeth of a sandworm.
Oh,
The
that
Fremen
looks,
consider the sandworms to be gods. They call them
What?
Halud or simply the makers, because the worms make the spice melange. This proves that
What?
the Fremen are not some desert savages like
I
some
didn't
people
know
think.
that the
They have a
sandworms made
deeper
the
understanding of this
spice.
world, and they know how to harness its mysteries, like riding the sandworms. When Jessica realizes the significance of the Chris knife, it's a sign to the Fremen woman that their legends are coming true. And when she gives it to Jessica, it's like the Fremen accept her as one of their own. Later, Paul watches a hologram about the Fremen, and he sees a small desert mouse called the Muad'Dib.
Oh, it's
So
tiny.
cute.
I want one.
Sure, pal, I will get you one. Afterwards, Paul survives an assassination attempt by a tiny mosquito drone left by the Harkonnens. On the Harkonnen
Oh,
homeworld,
no.
her mother meets with the Baron, and she tells him that the Emperor fully supports the eradication of the Atreides.
Well, it's his plan, so duh.
Yeah, you know, space politics. However, the Reverend Mother demands that Paul and Jessica are spared since they're under Bene Gesserit's protection. The Baron agrees.
So the Jesuits or whatever, they really. So who had more control, them or the Emperor? That's who control? Oh,
But not really.
But Arrakis is Arrakis. And the desert takes the weak.
Back on Arrakis, Duncan returns and Leto meets with Stilgar. He's an important leader among the Fremen. Leto
there were
offers
so
to
many
ally
big
with the Fremen
characters,
because he
actors in this freaking movie.
and Stilgar honors him with his spit. Now, in the desert, water is life, so spit is a great honor.
Well, Preston, let me honor you with my...
Don't you dare. Cut to the best hype man in the universe.
Bro, you're getting way too excited about this
He
voice.
first sends his elite force, the Sardaukar, to help the Harkonnens kill House Atreides. Now remember, the Atreides
Damn.
have the best military
They
force
really
in the
hated
Empire.
them
The
that much.
Harkonnens
They scared of
suck,
them
so
that
they really
much.
need this assist. So Paul and Leto check on the harvesting operation, but most of their equipment was sabotaged by the Harkonnens. They're joined by Dr. Liet Kynes. She's a Fremen planetologist, and she's also an Imperial representative that oversees the transition of power on Arrakis. Before they go into the desert, Kynes checks on their still suits. These are Fremen-made suits designed to preserve every drop of bodily fluid.
Nice.
Like I said, in the desert, every drop of water counts. Kynes is surprised to see that Paul is wearing the suit exactly like the Fremen do, further proving the prophecy.
Oh,
In the
wow.
desert, they see that a sandworm is
Oh,
coming
that's
from
so
the harvesting
good.
machine. Now, the sandworms are attracted to
I remember this
vibrations
scene.
of the sand.
I remember
makes
this
harvesting
scene.
spice extremely hard.
So why don't they just use shields to protect their stuff?
Well, shields
That
send
sounds
the
so
sandworms
simple,
into a
buddy.
killing frenzy. So, because of the malfunctioning equipment, Atreides must rescue the crew themselves. But the crew don't want to abandon their spice haul, so Leto shouts,
Why don't they want to?
I want every man off that cross.
Why didn't they want to
This shows
abandon
Kynes
this
that the
spice?
Duke is an honorable man, unlike the Harkonnens. The second Paul steps off the aircraft, he gets blasted with spice, which immediately awakens his space magical powers. And Paul starts seeing visions of
Oh, 'cause
and then
everything
the
is
sandworm
literally
arrives in
spice.
its full glory.
Oh wow. Ew, just seeing those teeth makes me feel so
Paul
uncomfortable.
is so overwhelmed by
Ugh.
the visions that he is paralyzed. Gurney saves him right before the sandworm swallows the harvesting machine. Later,
Ugh.
Paul tells Jessica about the visions that he saw. He sees Chani again. He also hears voices who say, in another vision, he and Chani are about to kiss, but she stabs him. Then he sees Jessica with blue eyes, and that means it's the future, where she's with the Fremen. And Paul knows that she is pregnant, and even sees her with a baby. So Jessica freaks out about Paul's visions, and Leto understands that they're pretty much doomed. Because later that night, the Harkonnens attack. Dr. Yua betrayed them.
Doctor.
Lowers the shields and disables the communications.
He was the one that betrayed
Because his
them.
wife was taken by the Harkonnens and they are torturing her. The doctor.
Oh, that makes
In exchange
sense.
for her life,
That's
he
acceptable.
betrayed the Atreides.
That's
right before
yeah.
the invasion begins, Leto wakes up in the night, sensing that something is wrong. The doctor shoots him with a paralyzing dart, and then he replaces Leto's tooth with an implant. If he bites down on it, it will release poison. You see, the doctor wants Leto to kill the Baron. So then the Harkonnens and the Sardaukar attack. And
This
start
was
killing
such a
everyone.
great
They
scene.
blow up all the ships.
Oh, the action was so good.
That I just cannot get enough of.
The action was so good in the scene.
Gurney Halleck leads the Atreides troops into battle. Duncan cuts through a bunch
Oh,
of the Sardaukar and he escapes.
that
from
was
the
so
city.
sick.
Paul and Jessica are taken prisoner by the Harkonnens and they plan to leave them to die in the desert. Paul and Jessica use their abilities to take them out. But then they are stranded in the desert. Back in Arakan, the Baron captured Leto. He kills the doctor after telling him that his wife is already dead.
Even to a guy like me, that's cold.
But then Leto bites down on his fake tooth and releases the poison. Everyone in the room dies except the Baron, who was just barely saved by his shield. Back in the desert, Paul and Jessica are safe inside a tent left to them by the doctor. He also left them supplies and Leto's ring, which confirms that he is dead. While they mourn him, Paul is exposed to the spice again and he starts seeing visions. He
Brother,
sees
you need
Chani
to wear a
as she
mask
watches
so
the
you
battlefield.
stop
A future
taking
version of
all
Paul
the
with blue
spice.
eyes leads the Fremen against the Imperial forces. And then the visions get really dark since Paul realizes that he is leading the Fremen into a universe-spanning holy war.
For why?
Ah,
Paul
yeah,
wants to
thank
avenge
you.
his father's death, so he plans to use the Fremen as his army. But the
But
Fremen
the
see
Fremen-
him as their space Jesus, so they will follow him with pure fanaticism.
But are they
and
enough
wage a
people
religious
to
crusade
be an
against
army?
them. So naturally, he freaks out about this.
Well, if you start recruiting, yeah.
You Bene Gesserit made me a freak!
Later, Duncan finds Paul and Jessica and takes them to Kynes and the Fremen. Kynes has been sworn by the Emperor to ignore the Atreides massacre. However, she decides to help Paul and Jessica anyways. Paul suggests that they could end the conflict by him marrying the Emperor's daughter. Now, this plan is hopeless.
Wait, what?
But what's important here is that Paul is trying to reach.
Wait, whoa, back up. Wait, what? Okay, so for a long period, I was all caught up on understanding, but I don't remember this.
Kynes has been sworn by the Emperor to ignore the Atreides massacre. However, she decides to help Paul and Jessica anyways. Paul suggests that they could end the conflict by him marrying the Emperor's daughter.
She was in the first movie? I don't remember.
Now, this plan is hopeless, of course, but what's important
How
here
is
that
she
Paul is
related to
trying
the
reshape
Emperor?
His destiny to veer away from the future that he saw. Once Paul understands, that
Why?
he was
You
going to
looked so
Fremen, he
cool
uses
and
this
badass.
position to convince Kynes to help them find the rest of her people.
I've seen your dream. As Emperor Dr. Kynes, I can make a paradise of Arrakis with a wave of my hand.
Then the Sardaukar attack. Duncan holds them off so that
This
the others
was
can
the
escape.
best
He
fight
gives
scene.
them hell, but eventually, even the great Duncan Idaho falls. And he dies just like Paul saw in his dreams. Paul and Jessica escape by air, while Kynes goes on her own and summons a sandworm with a thumper. But then she's stabbed by the Sardaukar. Joke's on them, though, because the sandworm arrives and swallows them all. Paul and Jessica fly into a storm to escape their pursuers. Now, Paul has a trust in the Force kind of moment. He lets the storm guide him, and he gets visions again. And this is where the visions get really weird. Paul sees Jamis, a Fremen who's teaching him about the ways of the desert. But this is the same Fremen that Paul will have to fight and kill at the end of the film.
So what is it? The future, the past?
Wait, what? Yeah, you confused me
Okay,
now.
so Paul's powers allow him to see the future.
And the
Not just
past.
one future, he sees many possible futures.
Oh, so
all
it's
at once.
alternate.
Emotion is the future.
Oh,
His mind is calculating countless branching
what
paths
could
that
happen?
converge on certain outcomes.
It's
Think
all
of
the
like
possible
Doctor Strange,
timelines.
Time Stone,
I
and
would have
Infinity
said
War.
Loki,
Always
my
back to
friend,
what
but good
Duncan said at the
analogy.
start of the movie.
Dreams make good stories, but everything important happens when we're awake. Because that's when we make things happen.
The
That's
future
such a
is not
hard
constant.
line.
Decisions will shape
Such
what's
a
going to
good
happen.
line.
However, the question is whether or not he will be trapped in his own paradox, where he makes decisions based on his visions and not based on the
That's
present
so
reality.
fucking
The Baron
true.
takes a dip in Dune's version of the back to tank, and after Robin tells him that
So freaking true. What happens when you know all the answers and you don't like them? You try and change them, but because you know what happens and you try on purpose to change them, instinctively you fall into the answers you're trying to avoid. So
Paul
cool.
and Jessica died in the storm, the Baron goes all Palpatine.
Kill them all. Wipe them out. All of them.
Paul and Jessica crash in the desert, and they make their way toward the Fremen. To not get eaten by worms, they do the totally necessary and not at all awkward sand walk. But then a sandworm chases them, and Paul stands face to face with it. And it's almost like the sandworm senses that he's a special boy. Think of it like the time
Oh.
met Drogon, and the dragon senses that
I
he's
prefer the
young.
dragon so much
Spoilers?
more.
Come on, the show ended 5 years ago. R plus L equals J. Everybody knows that. Anyways, the sandworm is sent away when a nearby thumper is activated by Jamis, and then the Fremen ambush them. And they're led by Stilgar, the Fremen that Paul met earlier. Jessica uses the weirding way to take him down easily.
She is
thinking that
so
he is a worthy
badass.
fighter. And then Paul meets the girl from his dreams, Chani. And our boy gets real awkward. Well, I guess he did dream about committing a holy war with her, so yeah, I mean, I would get weird too. Stilgar allows Paul and Jessica to join them, but one of the Fremen is super hostile towards them. And it's Jamis, the Fremen Paul
Oh,
saw in his
yeah.
dreams. Paul must face Jamis in a duel. Before the duel, Chani gives Paul her Chris knife. And it seems to be the same blade that he keeps seeing in
So
his
either we're gonna
visions.
be friends or we're gonna be foes.
Only it wasn't. I know a knife is important. Someone will hand me a blade.
Paul has another vision, seeing himself getting killed by Jamis. Once again, the
But
vision
that's
might
not
show Paul
certified
in
it's gonna
possible
happen.
futures, or
It
might
could
just be
happen.
symbolic, because the voices in the vision say,
Arthritis.
so that means that Paul must shed his Atreides birthright, essentially kill that part of him and be reborn as the One. Paul's training allows him to best Jamis, although he doesn't want to kill the man. However, this duel is to the death, and Paul has no choice but to take Jamis' life. After this, the
Oh,
Fremen
yeah, he
accept
did
him as
kill
one of their
him.
own. So,
Oh, I
in the end,
remember
Paul's visions
that.
about Jamis teaching him are more symbolic in their nature. Jamis does
So
show
they
him
never
the
happened.
desert because his death puts Paul on the path to becoming one of the Fremen.
Oh,
Jessica
wow.
wants to get herself and
Yeah, his death did end up being an educational tool because thanks to him killing him, he is able to be with the Fremen and they teach. That's a bit ironic, but okay, I'll accept it.
Paul back to Caladan. However, Paul decides that they must join the Fremen so that they can use their
Desert power.
But Paul knows that this
God, couldn't they say something better than desert power? That sounds like something a 7-year-old would say, though. That's the only thing I have negatively, because it is cringe.
decision means that he is becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Fremen believe him to be their messianic savior, and by joining them, he sets into motion the future from his visions, the one with the Holy War.
So you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a sandworm.
You have no idea. Paul and Chani share a moment, and the movie ends with the Fremen riding a sandworm into the sunset.
This is only the beginning.
Okay, person, I understand Dune now. All this happens because a bunch of humans killed other robots and got real high on magic space dust.
Actually, yeah, that's one way of looking at it. So guys, that's everything you need to know before watching Dune Part 2. Big shout out to the writer.
That was actually good. That was actually informative. I still need to rewatch Dune 1 again, but that was actually informative. And I need to read the books. I really need to read the books. I really should read the books.